So you're using Snowflake and dbt, and you've probably got the basics down pretty well. But what's the real difference between being a good data developer and an elite one? Well, it all comes down to mastering a specific set of patterns. Today, we're going to break down exactly what those are, the expert techniques that make your data pipelines faster, way more reliable, and ultimately a heck of a lot cheaper to run.
I mean, does this hit a little too close to home? You build a pipeline, it technically works, but man, it is slow. Your Snowflake credit bill just keeps creeping up, and every once in a while, a job just fails, and you're left scratching your head. These are the exact growing pains that separate standard practice from truly expert engineering. And today, we're going to tackle them head on.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start by setting the stage with the modern data challenge. Then we'll walk through the key patterns step by step. How to tame that messy JSON data, build incredibly smart incremental models, master your query performance, and lock down your data quality with automation. And at the end, we'll wrap it all up into the Data Experts Toolkit you can start using right away. You see, the whole data challenge today isn't just about shuffling data from point A to point B. It's about building a system that's scalable and, most importantly, trusted. The difference between a pipeline that just kind of works and one that absolutely excels? Well, that's the difference between stale reports and real-time insights, between going over budget and being incredibly cost-efficient. And you know what's cool about this? This is shared ground. It doesn't matter if your title is data engineer or Snowflake engineer. We're all after the same thing: trustworthy data that's produced by jobs that don't break. And this is not just some technical detail. It's literally the foundation for earning your analysts' confidence and making audits a breeze instead of a nightmare. Okay, first up, let's talk about the messy stuff. The semi-structured data like JSON. It's absolutely everywhere these days, and handling it with grace is one of the first patterns of an expert. Because, let's face it, you can't analyze what you can't even structure properly. Luckily, Snowflake gives us this amazing tool called the variant data type. The best way to think of it is like a magic, flexible container. You can just dump any kind of data into it, complex, nested JSON, arrays, you name it, without defining a rigid schema up front. Snowflake just handles it. Okay, but here's where it gets really cool. A variant column can hold a ton of data, up to 16 megabytes compressed. But the secret sauce is that Snowflake keeps metadata about what's inside that JSON. This allows for something called query pruning, which is incredibly efficient. It's like having an index for your messy data. Instead of scanning the entire massive file, Snowflake just looks at its metadata to find the exact, tiny micropartitions it needs. The expert pattern here is simple. Land your raw JSON in a variant column and then use views to flatten it out for your BI tools. And look how simple this is in practice. This little piece of code is all it takes. You use this colon and dot notation to basically walk through the JSON structure, pull out exactly the value you need, and then cast it to the right data type, like a string or a number. This simple syntax, often inside a dbt model, is how you transform that unstructured mess into clean, beautiful, analyzable columns. All right, so we've wrangled our raw data. What's next? Well, experts don't just reprocess everything from scratch every single time. That's a huge waste of time and money. Instead, they build smart incremental models that only touch the data that has actually changed. Now, how do we do this? In Snowflake, the secret is a 1-2 punch of streams and tasks. First, you just flip a switch to enable change tracking on a table. Then, you create a stream on it, which acts like a little bookmark, keeping track of every single insert, update, or delete. Then, you set up a scheduled task that wakes up, checks that bookmark to see if anything's new, and if it is, it runs a merge statement to apply just those fresh changes to your target table. It's called Change Data Capture, or CDC, and it's ridiculously efficient. I mean, the difference here is just night and day. A full refresh, that's the brute force method. It's slow, it chews through your credits, and it just does not scale with large tables. But the incremental merge, that's surgical. It's fast, it's cheap, and it is the only way to go when you're dealing with serious amounts of data. This is really the heart and soul of an efficient dbt pipeline. Okay, so our pipeline is getting smarter, it's incremental, but what about the queries themselves? Because let's be real, optimizing query performance isn't just about making things faster for your users. It's about directly controlling your Snowflake costs. Every second, every micropartition you save from being scanned is money back in your pocket. We can break this down into a really simple framework. Just ask yourself 3 questions. First, how can we read less data from storage to begin with? That's all about query pruning. Second, How do we make the actual processing, the joins, the sorts, the aggregations, run more efficiently? And finally, are we even using the right-sized warehouse for the job? Not too big, not too small, but just right. All right, here's a classic performance killer. I see this all the time. Joining tables with an or condition in the on clause. This can cause what's known as a join explosion. Basically, Snowflake has to create this enormous temporary table of every possible combination of rows before it can filter them down. It is incredibly slow and expensive. The pro move? Break it up into two separate, much cleaner left joins. This lets the query optimizer do its job way more efficiently and avoids that massive intermediate step completely. Okay, so let's bring this idea back into the dbt world. Here's what a pretty standard incremental model looks like in a dbt project. It merges any updates based on a single unique key, in this case, order ID. This works just fine, but we can do so much better.
Now watch this. It looks like a tiny change, but this is an absolute game changer. All we've done is add updated at to the unique key. Now, if that updated at column is a cluster key in our target table, meaning the table is physically sorted by that date, we unlock something called dynamic pruning. When dbt runs the merge, Snowflake can see that the new data is only from the last day. And since the target table is sorted, it knows it only needs to scan the very end of that huge table instead of the whole thing. This one-line change can literally slash your query times and your costs. It's that powerful.
Okay, so we've got a fast pipeline. It's efficient. It's cheap to run. We're feeling pretty good, right? Well, what if the data's just wrong? Because if the data's wrong, all that speed means absolutely nothing. The final pillar of expert engineering is building automated, continuous trust in your data. And this quote just nails it. Data quality isn't some abstract technical chore. It's about building and keeping confidence across the entire business. It's what allows for reproducible machine learning models, and it's what makes audits painless. It's all about trust. The great news is we are not alone in this fight. There's a whole modern stack of tools out there designed to help us. We're talking about things like dbt tests, of course, but also tools like Great Expectations, Monte Carlo, or SOTA. These let us define our expectations in code, monitor for things like data freshness and volume anomalies, and even trace the lineage of a problem to see what the blast radius will be. And you know what? Getting started is way easier than you might think. Just look at this. This is a basic dbt schema test. With just a few simple lines of YAML right in your dbt project, you can declare that this customer_ID column has to be unique and it can never be null. That's it. When you run dbt test, it automatically writes and runs the SQL to check these rules for you, embedding data quality right into your development workflow. All right, let's pull all of this together. We've gone from messy, raw data all the way to trusted, high-quality insights. And along the way, we've uncovered the key patterns that really define elite data engineering with Snowflake and dbt. So if you remember nothing else from today, remember these 4 patterns. 1. Flatten your messy JSON with views to make it instantly usable. 2. Merge your data incrementally so you only process what's new. 3. Prune your scans dynamically by adding clustered keys to your join conditions. And 4. Test everything continuously and automatically to build that all-important trust. So I'm going to leave you with one final thought. Start thinking of your data platform not just as a collection of scripts, but as a product you are building and delivering to your organization. So my question to you is, what's the one thing, the one pattern from today that you're going to go apply tomorrow to make your product just a little bit better?